Hey, what's going on, gamers, coders, speedrunners, and all-around game enthusiasts? This is Joystick Justin, and welcome to Devlog 6. I have a couple worlds here ready to go, and I'm just going to show off some of the new stuff in the game. There's a lot of new stuff. It's been maybe 6 months since my last devlog, and there's been a lot of developments. So, here is the world I've prepared, and I'm going to start building some stuff in this world. Before I do that, I'm going to make a new world. I'm going to call it Devlog 6 New World. If you create a new world, there's some lore to the game now. Just some basic lore. Whenever you open a new world, it tells you this. Where am I? You wake up in the middle of this unknown wilderness. Your memory is clouded, and you don't remember how you got here. You have visions of some form of civilization. You think you were part of something important before you ended up here. You look around, and it's clear that you are miles away from that civilization. You wonder if that civilization existed at all, or if it was just a dream. Maybe you could find some clue about that civilization if you explore this unknown wilderness. And then the game gets started, and you can start playing. So during that menu, you're technically paused. So parts of the game that tick. So animal spawning and that thing that flew across the top of the screen, all that stuff is paused while you're looking at that screen. So you spawn at 8, -8, that's where you normally spawn. I walked a little bit, but you spawn at 8, -8. If you run around the world for a little while, now you don't have to run this far, but I've run pretty far. If you go 160 tiles in any direction away from spawn, you will find one of these structures here that I've found. There's also, this is new in the game. I'm just showing you as stuff appears. There's a ghost in the game. You've also probably noticed my character's sprite is completely different. One of my buddies made me that, as well as he made me these ghosts. They also, I think that's also new, the fact that anything that takes damage, it'll turn red when it takes that damage. And I've got a health bar there too, so you can die in the game now. I'm still working on this. It's not perfect. You can see part of it's in the water. I'm trying to decide if that makes sense or if I want to change how. You could say it's floating there, but maybe I shouldn't put it in the water. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. But you can see that it's not great on the sand, but you can see there's this little piece of paper thing. If you before I do that, let me show you what happens. So that gives you more. If you right-click this piece of ruin and right-click the piece of paper, you'll get new crafting recipes. Oh, here's also a deer. I'll show you that deer in my other world. I think it's a bit better in my other world. But there's a deer there as well. So let's take a look at the anvil. The crafting recipes in the anvil that are 4x4. There's pickaxe, hammer, sword, and that's it. So it's basically just a bunch of tools. So I'll kill this. This ghost needs to go. So you can see it's just basically tools. When I right-click this, you found a note in the ruins. Now the game's paused at this point, so you have time to read this, and no enemies are going to come and attack you while you're reading this. The game's essentially paused while you're reading this. You found a note in the ruins. As you take the note, you are startled by a low, distant rumble. So I'm going to add to the game a sound effect. When you grab this note, you'll hear a little bit of a rumble in the distance as you grab this note. You wonder if taking the note triggered the rumble. As you look at the ruins, you wonder about the civilization that used to live here. Maybe this is the civilization from your vision. You can't tell much from these ruins, but from the note it seems like this is a very advanced civilization. The note that you found contains some crafting recipes for some advanced technology. You add these recipes to your recipe book. You take the note as well as several unanswered questions. So now, when you read that, it said that you added some crafting recipes to your recipe book. So after the anvil, you got copper wire, aluminum pipe, so electric machine. I'll show what these are all used for. Electric machine frame, fluid machine frame. EF is an electric and fluid machine frame. You've got all these recipes. So basically all the recipes, and you see some new ones in there as we go through. You got all these recipes, and you unlock them when you grab that note. So there's a bit of exploration required in the game now. You have to find one of these ruins, which generates randomly after you've gone 160 blocks or tiles away from spawn. So I have grabbed that in this world, and I've also grabbed a lot of resources and materials. So I've got this cooking away. I'm going to show you lithium. So lithium batteries, I'll show you those in a minute. And I've built this right next to one of those ruins. So they all generate kind of looking the same as this. So yeah, they've got like this arrangement of just other buildings around it. So I'm going to show you the power generation system, which is completely different in the game now. As well, I want to show you the background tiles that you're seeing here. So I want to craft a hammer, and I think this is the recipe. That's the recipe for a stone hammer. So these background tiles, if I'm looking at this anvil, if I break it and I have selected something that's not a hammer, see, okay, yeah, you have to have an empty inventory slot to break that like that. If I have a hammer, though, it breaks the tile on the bottom. So you can see that by placing the floor, you're putting a background tile on. And so change that has been made is you can place these anywhere. So this area is new. You can place there. If I go over here, there's a beach. You can place tiles on a beach too. Before, you could only ever place tiles on the grass tile. So that's a bit of a change there. The other thing is that in the mine, you can build in the mine. So I can place stuff in the mine, and I can like have a fully functioning like power system in the mine. So that's kind of a cool additional feature here too. So stone hammer is used to harvest background tiles that you've placed. You can't go and harvest like some tile that's there from the start. But so you can now build floors in your house, and yeah, I think that's kind of cool. So I'll show you the power generation system next. So the power generation system. There's also all these like animals flying around, so I'm gonna kill this thing with my sword here, as well as the deer. The deer drops antlers as well as raw venison. The venison can be used if you select it in your hotbar, click your player. It heals your health by a quarter of a heart, by both the pork and the venison. I'll show you the pork once a wild boar spawns. So we have no more the pink pig that we had before doesn't exist anymore. And so once it becomes daytime, we'll see some of those pigs running around, and I'll show you that. And the other thing is, I think you saw in the... well, maybe you haven't seen this yet. So there's a lot new in the game, and you're just going to have this new stuff thrown in your face as you're playing. So there's just a lot of new stuff to see. So if I just stand here, here comes a golem. And he's going to try to kill me. And he does half-hearted damage. If you were watching my health, if I got hit by a hollow, the hollow is the ghost. So the hollow did a quarter of a heart of damage. Golem does half a heart of damage. So we'll let him hit me to do half a heart of damage. You can see that. The other thing I have in the game is these... If I press J, it opens up this debug screen. The blue line shows you chunk borders. The yellow lines are just tile borders, and there's red lines around other enemies, around their hitboxes. So, the golem just drops some stone if you kill it. So, yeah, so then let's place down this pump. So here's my pump. I'm going to show you the power generation system. So, here's how the power generation system works. If you find a body of water, you can place your pump at that body of water. So here's my pump. It's going to slowly fill with water. Now, I want to see, does this pump work? I had a glitch before. The glitch has been fixed. There was a glitch before, and I fixed it, I guess. If I set down... So here's the IO. You can see the whole game. There's new textures, so I'm not going to just point out every single new texture. You'll see them as you play. The IO button, the on-off button. There's a pig up there. You can see it. Here's a pig. If I put a boat down, I can cross the water. Now, my buddy who's coded, he hasn't coded them, he has just designed these new animations. He hasn't designed the player in the boat yet, so you can see we use the old animation for that. But we'll kill that pig, and antlers are really useful because they're the handle for every single tool in the game, so that's a really useful thing to have in mind. So this guy's full of water. If I set so there's electricity going in and out, and there's water, or the bucket, the electricity goes in and out of these sides, and fluids go in and out of these sides. So if I say up, and then I place down a pipe. You can see the pipe gets filled. Now, this guy doesn't store much water, so the pipe will store a lot of water. There's not a big tank in him, but you can see he's sent water out the top, and it ends up in the pipe, and the pipes will take all the water. So, pipes have a bit of storage. Let me kill this pig. Pipes have a bit of storage for fluids. So, depending on how far away your water is, you'll have to build a long pipe system. And then, if I put down a turbine generator, not a turbine generator, sorry, we need a steam boiler. So we need to turn the water here, bring all the water in. We need to turn the water into steam. So to turn the water into steam, you just give it a burnable fuel, which I'm not sure if boats are burnable. No, not yet. Wood is burnable. I've set that up. So you just put a burnable item in there, and then you turn it on, and it takes up that item. You can see that the flame's not as high there as it is with coal. But if I put coal in, the flame will get higher, so the coal burns longer. And I'm going to set the output. So this tank is an input tank, and it only ever is an input tank. So if you try to send fluid into this machine, it'll only ever go in the input tank. And then the output, that blue arrow, any fluid that goes out is always going to come from this output tank on the other side. So that's the way that the system is set up for that kind of fluid system. I'll put an aluminum pipe here. It'll take some of the steam out. And I'm going to put the steam into this turbine generator. So take in all the fluid, not from the top though, take it all in from that side. And electricity, he's going to send electricity out this way. Now you notice the pump did have electricity. There's a lot of, you can have 10 creatures on the screen at one time, so there's just a lot of stuff running around here. I had it set before actually that there could only ever be one creature at a time. And I think that's better to have more creatures. So then I'll put down a copper wire right here. And I could put a background there. I could put the floor there. So just to make things look good, put the floor there. You can at least have a floor tile there. And then, cool. So if you hit the on button, here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to be outside here. It'll take some steam. So you can see it's going to be taking some steam and turning the steam into electricity. And once this guy fills up, he turns off. And then once this guy fills up, he'll turn off as well. So all the machines automatically turn on and off. I do plan to add a system in the game that machines will automatically... you can have an option to automatically turn them on and off at different times. So we've got a battery here. I'm going to show you how to store electricity because that recipe is different. So here are all these things here. Pump, turbine, so battery. Here's how you make a battery. I need 4 batteries. I don't have items to craft another battery. I need more aluminum. So we've got aluminum in here. So let's craft another battery. I need 4. I've got one here. So there's all my batteries. I'm going to put away some of these stones so that I have an inventory slot. And then the LESU is here. I need some electric machine frames, which is crafted from... Here's the recipe for that. I think it's this. Yeah, so I need 2 of those. And then I can craft the LESU. Using my 4 batteries. So now the LESU it's the storage device for electricity. So take in all your electricity you want. And tell these guys to turn on. So the steam boiler, I think it can support 2 turbine generators. So that's just an interesting thing to note. Yeah, and then we'll just send electricity out the bottom so that we can fill this wall with machines. Next machine I want to show you, you've seen the refiner and other devlogs, you've seen the electric furnace and other devlogs. I'll craft them here, but what I want to show you is the charging station. So I need 2 more machine frames, so let's craft those. So do this, and do this. To craft 2 more machine frames, and then using those machine frames, I've already crafted the copper coils. So you can see the crafting recipe for all the devices along the way here. So the pump, you need motor, fan blades, a shaft. The fan blade's there, the motor's there. The copper coil for the motor is here, and then the iron bar for the iron rod. So you've got all that stuff, and then if you want to make a turbine fan, we saw those recipes. So that's a turbine fan, which is used to make the turbine generator. A motor works as a generator. If you've seen just like any electrical, if you've done any electrical, you know that a motor can be used as a generator. They're basically the same thing. Yeah. So some of these recipes I plan to change. A ghost just spawned inside my house. I think the plan is that if you've got a background tile placed, then monsters won't spawn. I've thought about doing light levels the same way Minecraft does it, but I don't think that I'm gonna. I think that would be cooler if it was just like if there's a background tile placed, you could spawn proof a whole area. So here's the charging station. So I think the charging station is actually pretty cool, to be honest. I think that this guy probably ran out of coal. No, I don't know why. Well, he probably turned off because he filled up with steam, because he can support 2 turbine generators. So, okay. So the charging station is cool. So I really like the way the batteries turned out in the game, because if you have a battery, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say send energy that way now, so he doesn't take energy in from that direction. These slots here are the charging slots. So it takes electricity and fills up the battery. I think that's awesome. This is crazy. This is cool. And then if you want to discharge any battery, you can do that. So and eventually I'll probably have energy storage that's better than the battery that can store a lot more energy. And maybe the charging station, maybe there'll be an advanced charging station that charges up batteries faster. Still kind of thinking about how that's going to work, but the batteries are really cool. I think that this system here is really cool. So you could, if I wanted to take this refiner and let's say I take this battery, let's craft another battery just so that I have it. And you can, it'll be good to see because the battery, each of these slots can charge its own battery. So you can have a battery in every one of these slots, doesn't matter which slot it's in, and you can see it takes more energy the more batteries are in there. So there you go. So I've got 3 fully charged batteries. Now here's the cool thing. Here's what I can do. Look at all these animals just running around up there. This is awesome. This game's kind of coming together, and I'm happy about the way it's coming along. So I've got an electric furnace. I have a refiner, and I have a charging station. Let's take all that good stuff to the mine, and let's say I'm out here just mining away. Copper, let's get some copper. And then I'm like, okay, well, I want to actually process this stuff right here, right now. Well, I've got a charging station. I can discharge these batteries into the charging station. Oh, here comes some golems. I might need to build like a shelter around this area. But then I can say, send electricity out this way. And then put a refiner down, tell the refiner to share energy with the next door neighbor, which will be the furnace. And then here we are. So I brought some electricity to the mine. And then if I want to process this copper in the mine, the option to do that is there. So I'm processing this copper, and then I can put that in here, and I can process the copper from the furnace. So that's cool. And the thing is, you actually can't, there's no way to generate electricity here, because there's no way to get water in this right here, this whole thing was impossible before. But now there's a way to, I'm gonna just send all the electricity into that guy now. Now you actually have a way to get electricity in the cove, and the reason I'm saying that is because there's no water in the cove, so there's no way to get that steam. So now with what just happened. You just saw 3 batteries is enough to process whatever number I just processed. So that's kind of a cool use for the charging station. And something just broke. This happens. This is just the way it is. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. There's some stuff still breaks. I think it's because I had lithium batteries in the machine, so the game didn't know what to do with that. Because, yeah, there's a couple things you can see that are still a work in progress. Yeah, so, and then I'll just show off. So I want this devlog to have most of everything, because this game is close to having a pre-release version ready. So I'm going to show off a couple other things about the game. So let's do this. Let's prepare. Oh, I guess I want to do this. So I'm going to make a solar panel, so that's in this devlog. And I guess the solar panel is coded currently to work in the cove, which doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm going to code it to not work in the cove. I guess there's buckets in the game. They haven't been coded yet, but there's buckets in the game, and eventually I'll code them to work properly. I guess if you wanted to bring a bucket of water or a bucket of steam to the cove, you could. Bucket of steam doesn't make sense, but other games have buckets of steam, so don't judge me for having buckets of steam in my game. Make the assembler. Let's put a furnace down. Let's put an assembler down. Let's make sure all these guys are sharing electricity with those around them. Okay. Perfect. So we've got the silicon dust. I need some more iron, don't I? Yeah. So here we'll get this started. I think this is the crafting recipe. So if you go to your recipe book, you can show assembler recipes. This is the recipe for a solar cell. So aluminum, phosphorus, like that. Yeah, so that'll craft it. Gotta send energy out the bottom. Okay, so that'll craft me that, and it'll just take a little bit of time. So while that's happening, let's go to the mine and just get a bit more iron. That's the thing. You can never have enough iron in this game. I don't know. I think that some things might need to be crafted with something that's not iron, but I don't know. I don't really know what to do about that. So I don't know. Just like, yeah, iron's probably the most common resource you need. So did that not work? Oh, I've got the aluminum and the phosphorus in the wrong... There you go. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna... I need to start generating a bit more electricity here, too. Okay, so that's a solar cell there. We'll craft 2 of those. And then, well, we'll craft all of those, I guess. Yeah, we're running out of electricity. Okay, if I do that twice, we'll be good. So now we can craft a solar cell, and here's how the solar cell works in this game. I'm gonna need... there's a couple batteries there. That's... let's see. I can make another LESU with the batteries I have there. Solar panels here, so I need iron. I need some of these. And I've got enough iron, so once this finishes, once I can craft all those, we'll be good. Okay, so I just need that one last solar cell. 4 solar cells crafts a solar panel. And then that can be, well, let's see. Yeah, I guess the solar panel has to sit here. And it sends energy out there. Now, it's not going to generate any electricity at the moment because it is nighttime. But that's the way that works. It'll generate electricity if it's daytime. And I'm not sure what happens if I take it to the mine. It's currently nighttime in the surface. I don't know if it'll work in the mine, to be honest. We'll see. Anyway, I think that's all that's in the game so far. I think I've shown you everything in this devlog. So, yeah, you've seen all of those things. You've seen the charging station. So I think that's good then. So, send electricity out there. Okay. Yeah, so I think the batteries are honestly, I think they're awesome. I also just did them like yesterday, so they're a bit of a new addition to the game. But I guess this is the other cool thing you can do is if you can just like have the battery sitting in your charging station just filling up. Now you could just use an LESU for the same purpose, but now you've got batteries fully charged, and so now if you want, you can. I need more steam. Yeah, so I mean, what I'm trying to say here is now, if you want, you can just have these batteries fully charged, and anytime your energy system needs a boost, you can just switch these over to here, discharge your batteries into your energy system, into your wires, and you've just got a boost of electricity there that goes in all your machines. So, yeah, I think that's it for the devlog. I think I've shown you everything. I'll show the code a little bit. I'm not sure how much of the code I want to show, though, because, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if the devlogs... I don't know if the code is fun to see in the devlogs, but yeah, I guess I could show off some of the ways that I've changed the way that things are stored in the files. So I think this is yeah. So this is the ruins. So let's go to file 3. This one is just the devlog that I was just working on. So you got your seed, you've got your position information, what dimension you're in. This is the time that the game's at, so a larger time means you're closer to nighttime. This is your health and your maximum health. This is your spawn location, so tile X, tile Y, chunk. This is your technology level, so it's 0, and when you go to that ruins, the ruins increases your technology level from 0 to 1, and when you have a technology level of 1, then you can craft all those things like the electrical machines. This, I think, tells it whether or not this file's been opened, because, so, if I make a new world, so I have this new world called test. Okay, and so that true there should be, I think it'll be a 0. Yeah, it'll be a 0 in that new world that I just made. And so once, if it reads that and reads a 0, it changes it to true. When it's, if it reads a 0, it shows this on the screen, it shows this text. It's like, okay, the first time you've been in a world, so I'm going to show you this text. And then I need to fix that glitch too there. You shouldn't be able to spawn inside of water. And then this water is like, yeah. So it shows that text, and now that it has shown that text, it switches it to true. So now, yeah, that text is true now. So that's how that works. So the file, because you can generate a file, but it doesn't actually put you into the world. So it doesn't know if it's shown you that text yet. So I had to have that little thing in there that shows you, like if you've never entered the world before, it needs to show you that text that's like gives you the starting lore for the game. Other things about the way that things are stored in files is this. So the old way of storing inventory items was all these text files. These text files are now not needed. These are just here because this world has existed for several versions of the game. Here's your inventory. And then all the tools, so instead of storing them all as text boxes, all tools are here in a JSON file. Now this might be scary to read, but it's basically from here to this comma is one tool. So it tells you how much durability it has, it tells you the max durability it can have, it tells you the type of tool, if it's a power tool, and if it is a power tool, how much power can it store. So technically this should be no longer here because it's a hammer with 0 durability. So I'm not sure why that didn't get removed, but that's a glitch that I can deal with too. So all these tools get loaded into memory, and then they can be accessed and played around with. And they're loaded into memory because the charging station, for example, needs to have access to these tools and see how much like the battery. So this is a battery here. So this is a battery. It's a power tool. The current power it has is 0. So all those batteries that I was putting in, there's this battery I guess has this much power in it. So you can see, actually no, this is file 1. So maybe, I don't know. That hammer doesn't make sense to be 0 durability, but there's a hammer here somewhere that's got 0 durability, and I don't know where that is, but so you can see I've built this next to a little bit of a river there. Makes sense to build your base next to a river now because you need water to make steam. Yeah, so this is just, it's called JSON. It's a JSON file that just stores all the information about your about some object in the game. So the tools, the reason they're stored in this JSON, and the way they're stored is in a hash map, which basically is a number and then the data. So number 1 has this data, number 2 has this data, and this hash map, it tells you, it just kind of stores that information. So we know that number 1, number 2, whatever, and so a hash map can only have one data. In Java's hash map, it can only have one data piece, one piece of data at every index. And so I've used a hash map to make sure that every index has one piece of data. But then if you remove number 1, this number 2 doesn't change. It stays as number 2. And that's important because the tool in each inventory slot is referenced in a different spot. The inventory slot, the tool's ID is like this number. So if 24 was a hammer, then 6 would be the ID of that hammer. And this doesn't change when you remove a tool. It still thinks it's number 6. So I had to use a data type like a hash map where if you removed one item, the indexes of everything else didn't change, that was important to have. Then the tiles are the same thing. There's a JSON file that stores all the processors. There's a lot of data here about each processor, but this just sits here in this text file and gets loaded into memory whenever you load a file. You'd be surprised how quickly, like this, there's all this data, but to load the file, it actually loads the file pretty quick. Like, boom. Like it took like maybe half a second, and half of what's going on there is other lines of code that don't even like load these things into memory. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that this is kind of cool. And I just keep playing with these batteries. I think they're so cool. So I think that's it. I think I've shown you, there's a bunch of new textures in the game. I've shown you the tech progression where you have to find that ruin to get access to some of these tech machines. I've shown you all these creatures that are running around the game. It's those 4 creatures, the golem, the hollow, or ghost, reindeer, and boar. That's it. The pig has been removed from the game, but at any moment I can bring the pig back into the game. Yeah, so game's progressing well. I think my plan coming up is I'm gonna make it so that if I find another ruin, I've already found this piece of paper in this ruin, so any other ruin that I find now is not going to have a piece of paper like that. And so I'm planning to make it so that if I find another ruin, that ruin is going to have this little I guess like a little statue, and you can pick up the statue, and you can just like click on it, and you can harvest the statue like you harvest any other tile, and then you bring it home, and that statue will have I guess it'll have a durability bar where you can charge it full of electricity. It'll be a powered item, and if you charge it fully and then place it down in the world, it'll generate this boss that you have to fight. So it's like you're powering up this statue, and once it's got full electricity, it becomes something you can fight. So yeah, I think that's kind of cool. That's the plan. That's the up and coming plan. We'll see if that actually ends up being what I do here. But yeah, I think that's it for this devlog. I'll just cut back until I find this next ruin. Oh, here it is. Found one. So you can see there's no piece of paper in here. I promise I wasn't here before. Like, there's no piece of paper here. So the plan is that this ruin, because I picked up a piece of paper from a different ruin, this ruin will have somewhere in this area there'll be this little doll or statue that you can pick up and bring it home full of electricity and charge it up. So that's the plan there. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching this devlog, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Game's getting close. Devlog 6. I've got some friends who have the game, so they're doing a bit of testing, and I'm still adding some features. Once I add that boss, we will have a pre-release version ready. I think that boss is the point where you defeat the boss, you've beat the game. Like, you have a goal. The goal is beat the boss, and then you beat the game. So yeah, we'll see, but maybe soon enough we'll have a pre-release version that'll be open to more people than just some of my friends. So we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.